I'm doing, oh, no, I could be using a tripod, but I'm going to practice with my balance. There we go. What's going on, guys? So I'm doing a little Xavier Drone Factor X in the car style shooting because it's still kind of cool out and there's snow all over and I just don't feel like getting wet and cold. So I'm going to do a little video right now on, no, not my Nano Plus, because I don't have a Nano Plus, but in anticipation of my Nano Plus, I got my Mini 2 back, and I just want to talk and share a little bit about this drone and where it comes into play in a drone workflow. So first off, this little drone, to me, is one of the cooler DJI drones out there because it just simply is fun, it works, and it's really capable. And what else is there? It's just a cool drone, man. I mean, it's $600 with the Fly More combo, and I'm not going to be getting into the Nano Plus and the Nano specs, but the Nano Plus should, in theory, be a superior drone. But regardless of that, this is still a really cool drone, and I could still get images and footage that I can go and promote and do some stuff with, or sell prints if I get a nice shot with it. And just a really powerful little drone at 249 grams. And that's kind of, right now I got this little, whatever you call, PyTech or PyTech, I don't even know how you pronounce that. What is it? But whatever, I got this little UV filter on it because I just got this thing back from DJI and I had to use a refresh because there was a little scratch on the lens cover and you can't just simply take out the lens cover. Regardless, I had to use one of my refreshes. It was $49 and I got 3 refreshes with the Refresh Plus, I believe, and I think it expires in November regardless, so I figure why not and go and use that and spend the least amount of money on this drone as possible because it's not really an expensive drone to buy regardless. So with that being said, I want to walk you through some of the settings because they just did an app update and I had to dial in this thing once again, and I figure go through it with you guys. Some people aren't really familiar with dialing this thing in with the Fly app, and I kind of feel I am. So let's go and get this thing in the air and power it on. And we're going to go ahead and do a little quick press. One, and then one. Oop, let me see if I have my battery. So one thing too, this will test the battery. This little button on the bottom, boom. It shows I got one LED. You can't maybe see that. And this little button on the butt will also, if you depress it right here, little butt button, this is the butt button, that's the official name, that will also give you the battery level. So I'll take this thing out and put in a freshie, boom, boom. Got the hub with me with 3 or 4 more batteries. Put this guy in. Again, we can depress the butt. And we'll see we get all fresh battery. Boom. And you could also, as I said, depress this guy here. So we'll go ahead and power on the drone. Keep it level. Oop. There we go. So far, I don't think this UV filter is doing anything as far as hurting the gimbal or giving it any kind of reason to be not balanced. We'll get this thing outside and I'll power on my controller. Oop. Let me get this guy back in the hub. So this was the controller I was using to fly my Mavic 3 Cine that everyone freaks out about. I don't know why, because I wasn't using the RC Pro. Holy cow, what a freaking crazy thing. But regardless, this was it. And I actually really enjoy flying with this controller. And that's that. And actually I got word from DJI that they processed my refund for the refresh and the Cine. So $6,000 will be back in my account very shortly. And they still didn't give me any information. They said they're still working on recovering the footage. We shall see. I don't really even care that much at this point. It would be a cool little bonus if I were able to get the footage to edit, but don't really give a F, honestly, at this point of the game. So I'm going to turn on the remote. I honestly would rather just get the Nano Plus and mess around with that. So I'm going to go ahead and record the screen on my iPhone 13 Pro Max. And And for you guys who aren't aware, the iPhone 13 Pro Max is actually kick-ass to fly with. So way better than the 12 Pro Max. The 13 Pro Max seems way more stable, brighter, doesn't seem to dim out. I don't know, I haven't experienced a ton of hot weather flying yet because we're in crappy Illinois right now when it's freezing. But with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and record the screen once again because for some reason it stopped recording. I'll set my brightness. I don't need it full brightness right now, and I'll turn my volume down. And then we'll get into the Fly app. And last time I logged in just to kind of play around, it was saying there was an update for it, but I don't believe there is. And you can see right on the home screen, for those who aren't really familiar with the Fly app, we have the Go Fly, which is going to enter us into the camera mode of all the settings and what we're seeing. And right now, just so you're aware, in the bottom right-hand corner, we got that little Pro setting, and I could see that it's overexposed. If I just tap that, that will go in the auto exposure mode. So if you're ever really wanting to just get in the air or get back safely or something, and you're not wanting to mess around trying to figure out what manual settings to go into, don't be scared to just hit that auto mode and get back so you could see things and everything's properly exposed. But let's go back into the other menu. And basically we have our profile area we can go into and see that kind of stuff. And I don't necessarily need to get through the whole Fly app. I really want to just go through the settings. And we'll go into Go Fly. We can see right now I have my histogram enabled. You can move this thing around. This is basically a graphical representation of our exposure. Everything kind of hugging in the middle is where you'd want that histogram to be without getting too into it. You can see that little peak to the left. That's going to be all our shadows, meaning our blacks. And that's going to be this whole right side where I'm moving the histogram, this dark zone right here. That's what that basically is representing. We have our little area to the left, our mile per hour, our distance, our feet, meaning our height. And I got it all in imperial settings, meaning US settings. Right now it's in normal mode. If I click the controller to the left, it will go into cine mode. I'm going to make sure this thing's still recording. It is. And then if I go into sport mode all the way to the right, it will toggle in the upper left-hand corner at the different modes that we're actually in. I'm going to keep it in normal mode always to launch. That's just me. I launch and then I probably go into sport mode if I know I'm clear of all obstacles and I want to just get from point A to B quickly and efficiently. But if I want to actually just kind of cruise around, I'll use normal mode. And then if I want to fly and get my footage, I'll probably throw it in the cinematic mode. And we'll get a little bit more into that in a second. But right now we have, again, in the lower right-hand corner, we got auto and our pro mode. If I want to dial this in right now, I can go and tap this little area where it says S, which is our shutter. And I can go ahead and make it a little quicker and just kind of get the exposure a little bit more dialed in. Tapping the Pro mode into auto will help out. But you see right now I want to be capturing in JPEG plus RAW always because the files on this Mini 2 aren't huge. So there's no reason not to capture both. If you want to really get the most out of your footage, or your file, I should say, for a still shot, you want to be capturing in RAW. So that you want set to JPEG plus RAW. That's our shutter speed. Ideally, we keep our ISO, meaning our ISO, ASA, whatever you want to say, set to the lowest number, which is 100. That will produce the best possible file out of the drone, meaning our Mini 2. Have a 128 gigabyte SanDisk Extreme micro SD card in here. We got our white balance set manually. Or no, I think it's actually set to auto. But whatever, we can keep it set to auto for now. But if we're really doing flying, we want to make sure everything's in manual mode to get the most out of our settings. And this right now is, let me see. So we'll put it back in the auto mode, as I said. The EV is our exposure compensation. So that's basically the plus is brighter and the negative is darker. You don't even need to worry about it. Basically, it's just like brighter. I want it brighter. Okay, I'm going to go until I visually see what I want to see. Negative is going to be darker. And that's basically it. It's going to be like negative 1.0 is down one stop, meaning underexposing one f-stop. So that's the technical jargon if you need to know. And right now I got it in right above the little shutter button right here. To the right middle that I just depressed. I'm making sure this thing's still screen recording. It is. We have If I tap above it, I want to keep it right now in single exposure. Right now I'm shooting stills. I'm not in video mode, so be conscious of that or mindful of that. We got auto exposure, so if I'm capturing maybe sunrise or sunset where I need to get a couple different brackets, meaning one for the sky and one for the foreground or the ground area, I want to keep it in the auto bracket setting below. Time shot I really don't use, honestly, but that's just a timed shot for maybe doing time lapses, for example. We got video, and right now we got video settings. I can set it to auto again in the lower right hand corner so we can kind of get our exposure dialed. But right now I'm going to go in the photo mode, and that's kind of the settings. Below the shutter button is our playback area to see what we want, like this, which I don't need. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that in the lower left hand corner. The little trash can icon, delete. Yes, I want to delete all three of these. This is actually showing right now some of the shots I shot yesterday, and it was actually really a pretty scene. But regardless of that, we will get out of there. We can move our histogram around, so be aware of that. And if we go to the top upper right, actually we got to start from our battery level. So that little 93 is the percentage that we have in our battery. If we tap that, we're going to basically see how many minutes until we return to home, until we get forced landing, until the battery is completely depleted. So be conscious that you could tap that. So right to the right of this battery level is the RC, which is the remote control signal strength. This is basically what's going to control whether or not this drone, this little Mini 2, gets thrown in the ADI mode. And this thing is actually kind of heating up, so I'm going to get it out of the car, get it up in the air, so we have it flying around, and that's that. So here, boom.
Take off.
Let's get it up in the air.
The home point has been updated. Please check it on the map.
So it's hard for me to launch left-handed out of the car. Oh crap, is it starting to drizzle? So right now, as you see, I'm moving and I'm in normal mode, and it's kind of moving slowly because I have it dialed similar to how I have it dialed in cine mode, because I like flying in both modes and I don't want it to be not cinematic while I'm flying in normal mode. Sport mode is basically the only mode I have it to where it's really just kind of not usable for cinematic settings. So if this is continuing to rain, I'm going to not even fly it. Crap. I don't want to get this thing rained on right now. So let me bring this thing back in. So right now you see, if I want to move this thing, yaw it quickly, I can go in the sport mode and it's going to go really quick. And the gimbal is going to move up and down quickly too. So right now you can see, here I am. But I don't want it in sport mode to hand land this thing. Actually, I'm going to back it in. Let me turn this around. Boom. Come here, little drone.
Landing.
Okay. So I'm going to bring this little guy back in because we're getting some rain on the windshield. And that's just not what we want for flying our drones in theory. Although I know Xavier actually just did a little tutorial on some weather proofing on the Mini 2, which kind of looked interesting. But this RC signal, as I said, is very crucial. If you don't have a good remote control signal strength, essentially what that's doing is whatever you're getting from the satellites to the remote control, if that signal isn't strong, it's not trusting the satellite, basically. It's not trusting the satellites, essentially. So that can force you to get into ADI mode. And if you're not familiar flying a drone in ADI mode, or like an FPV, for example, you may be in over your head and get in trouble. So be conscious of the remote control signal strength. Be conscious of your satellites. We've got 21 satellites right now currently. And to the top upper right-hand corner, we got this little 3 dots. We're going to go into here. We've got safety. I have my max altitude set to the maximum just because I don't want to mess around with that. I'm going to be conscious. I'm not going to be flying over 400 feet unless I'm legally able to, because there's a building or a structure. We got the max distance set to kind of default. We got my return to home altitude set to, maybe I don't want it that high, maybe 250 range, somewhere like that. We got the update home point, which is where we can update the home point when we're in flight. We got compass calibration, IMU, normal, battery info. But I'm not going to go through the whole thing right now. I just want to show you a teeny bit about what I think is most important in this Fly app. So basically, if I go in the camera settings, I got JPEG plus RAW, which, as I said, we always want to be capturing in both because they're small enough files and the cards are big enough capacity that it's not really an issue ever. The size, 4/3 ratio or 16:9. 4/3 is going to give you the most file size and the most image if you're wanting to print. 16:9 is nice if you want to maybe incorporate a still shot into a video edit because it's that similar kind of ratio or the same ratio. We got general, we got our histogram, which we can toggle on and off. I keep my histogram on always. We got the exposure warning, which I personally don't like. It's basically the zebra little pattern, so I keep that off. We got our grid lines. I keep all of them enabled. So I got the little crosshair, the rule of third, and then I got this little, let me see. Yeah, I got everything on. What does that actually do? Let me see. This little guy to the right, I think, throws a little crosshair. Yeah, it does. It throws a little crosshair. It's hard to see right now. There we go. Crosshair is right on this little piece on my dashboard. And what else is there? We got our white balance, which we ideally want to have set to manual so it doesn't flicker on us. So keep that set to manual. If it's nothing crucial, you can play around. Right now, the sun is kind of popping in and out with this weird little rain drizzle. So I'll keep an eye on that. We can format our memory card, which is something I suggest doing always when you start out first off with a brand new memory card, or if you're starting out the day. Ideally, you download your card after every flight, but I know that's not realistic for a lot of people. But again, that's where your formatting memory card is. If you do get a new memory card, definitely format before the flight so it's communicating with your drone properly. It shows the capacity below. I turned off sync downloaded files to iPhone album because I don't want everything on my iPhone cluttering up this iPhone 13 Pro Max, even though it's a 512 gigabyte capacity and large enough. I'll keep auto sync HD photos on, cache when recording on. I don't really even know too much about that, honestly. Control is another big thing. So right now we have our units depending on where you're at. As I said, I got Imperial, which is US, not metric. We have our front LED, which we can program. I did a little video on that just because I thought that was kind of clever and fun. So this little LED right now is set, can you see? Is it focusing? Is set to blue. I can set it to orange for Autel. Right now, there we go. We want some Autel love. We got green, and I just like the blue. This little blue is kind of nice, so it's kind of cool. We can change it from solid to breathing, where it kind of pulses. Rainbow, which will kind of spectrum the whole color spectrum that's available, and then disable completely. So I keep it on solid usually and choose your color accordingly. That's your little flavor. And that's kind of cool that DJI allows us to do that. I know it's kind of goofy, but for me, I kind of dig that little stuff. So gimbal mode, we want it on follow mode, unless you're wanting to try to get more FPV type footage or experience. Maybe Xavier or someone like that who uses this drone and flies FPV more, uses FPV mode with this guy. Okay, I'm wanting to see if this thing stops raining. I'm going to put on my wipers. So I personally keep allow upward gimbal rotation set, which is below over here. You can toggle it on and off. That will allow your gimbal to raise a little bit higher. And that's great for still pictures, or maybe if you want to shoot more cloudscape or something. So gimbal calibration, this is also where we can manually calibrate the gimbal while we're in the air. Say our horizon isn't level. So be conscious of that. And normally that's the horizontal that you're going to be adjusting while you're in the air to keep this thing balancing the horizon out. And we're going to hit the X in the upper left-hand corner to toggle out of that. And then we have advanced gimbal settings. And this is basically the cat's meow. This is where everything is for dialing in this drone, in my opinion. So right now I got the pitch speed set to 5. So that's going to allow the gimbal Let me get this thing back in the air. It looks like it's barely, God, I can't tell. It's like barely drizzling, but it's just drizzling enough to kind of suck. But okay, basically pitch speed I keep down to 5, and that's in the normal mode. And that's the great thing with this Fly app. You can adjust each mode individually. So I can have settings for my normal mode. I could have settings for the cine mode. So the sport mode, I keep everything faster. So as I said, the yaw is going to yaw really quickly. The gimbal's going to go up and down quickly. So that's going to be my fast settings. So if I need to like see where I'm going really quickly or hammer through and get from point A to B or just do anything faster, I'm going to throw it in the sport mode. So let's get this guy in the air again. I'm going to launch it because it's getting warm.
Take off. The home point has been updated. Please check it on the map.
Okay, roll up the window, cruise around. And this is a better example because right now if I want to turn around quickly, I can go in the sport mode and you're going to see it yaw and turn around quickly to where I want to compose. Now that's really quick and too much for just flying and cruising around. So if I throw it back in the normal positioning mode, you're going to see, or normal mode, now I can compose, see my exposure. Right now I'm going to get back out of auto mode into the pro mode for whatever that's worth. I can't adjust my aperture. It's a fixed aperture, so I'm going to adjust only my shutter speed. I'm at an ISO of 100 and probably keep it somewhere like that. You can see the histogram. Everything's nicely in the middle, nothing to the left or the right peaking. And I can take a shot. Boom. You can hear the shutter, and that's that. We got good signal strength. We got good satellites, 24. And let's kind of look at the advanced settings. So right now, we have our normal mode set to pitch speed 5, and we got a smoothness of 10. So this is the gimbal pitch speed at 5. And I know this is good for flying. If I control this guy slowly and I let off, that's a really nice speed for me to get smooth footage. So let me get a little higher and I could show you. Let me see what I have my cine set to. So this is 5. We're only talking about the gimbal right now. So the pitch speed is 5 and 10. Cine is 3 and 17. So if I go to cine mode, we're going to see it's going to be a little bit more smoothness, meaning when I let off the little button on the left-hand side, it's going to take a little bit more time to stop completely. But this is really great for, let me see, let me get up a little higher and I'll get some footage and kind of show you. So let me get back. I really don't like flying when I'm not outside seeing it personally. I mean, I can see, but it's not like I have, there's just a disconnect when I'm in the car. So let's just kind of do a little rotation. It's kind of a little drifty. Let me see. Why is it drifting a little bit? Let me check the winds. The winds are minor, so I don't know why it's drifting like that. I wonder if it is anything to do with that UV filter that's on there. Could be, but let's go ahead and fly a little bit and see. So right now, actually, let me get out of auto. So I'm going to go into manual settings. I don't have a filter on here, so I got to really kind of go and use a not ideal shutter speed. And we'll keep it around that 1/500th of a second. Maybe I got to do a calibration of my compass and IMU, I'm not sure. But regardless, I'm in normal mode with those settings that I just went over, and we can kind of see maybe cruise around a little bit. I don't know. Maybe go up a little bit. Let me cruise up a little bit in altitude. Maybe raise the gimbal. But you see, it's kind of going a little quicker than I want. So I'm going to go into cine mode. And why is it drifting like this? Come on, slow down. So let's go ahead and cruise over here a little bit. And we'll try to go and do a little nice movement. We'll do a little orbit. I'm kind of fixating that crosshair on that red building and trying to keep it in the same place for the most part. And maybe we're going to go ahead and rotate the gimbal up. Now, mind you, it's really set slowly. Oop. Maybe I'll go back a little bit and just kind of get a little longer shot. The smoothness is set really nice, so I'm going to let off the little button on the bottom. And we're just kind of cruise through and get a nice shot. So one thing I would suggest, a lot of people don't do, get really long, drawn-out shots, because that helps out in getting cool footage and showing that you could actually fly. So we're going to stop right here. I wasn't even recording, but it doesn't matter. I was screen recording, right? So whatever. But right now, this may be a good area to get a picture, so I'm going to switch in the photo mode and go ahead and take a shot. I'm a little overexposed in the sky, so maybe I'll go ahead and do either this manually, or I can keep it right there and click this button above the shutter and do this auto bracket and go boom. And now I got 3 shots, one neutral like you're seeing here, and then one above and below exposure-wise. But as you see, this is going to be the area where we're going to want to be controlling our settings for cinematic footage. So I keep my gimbal speed set from 5. Basically, you see 3, 5, 17, and 10. So 3 to 17, meaning 3 for the pitch speed for the slowest, all the way to like maybe 17 or whatever you want to figure out for the smoothness. And the yaw speed right now in normal is set to 17 and the smoothness is 12. So you could see this is 17. That's a pretty manageable movement for me. And again, and this is something you guys have to play around with. I'm just showing you my settings and what I think really works well. For the cine side, I have 5 and 8. So that's really slow. I'm going to throw it in the cine right now. And you'll see this is full stick to the left. And this is full stick to the right. And that's essentially where it's at. Now, if I throw it in the normal mode, it's not going to be way quicker, but it's going to be quicker. So I basically have 3 different options. I got a slow, medium, and a fast. I mean, that's in theory what I'd like to see from some of these drone manufacturers with the apps. It'd be nice to have almost like gears, like, you know, like instead of having all these settings, just have a little switch, slow to really quick, dead, basically 0 to 100, and it's just full on, really too much. And you see sport, it's going to be the same thing. It's like, whoa, going really quickly, yawing super fast. Yeehaw, yaw, yaw, yaw. So yawing really quick. Lee, too quickly. And gimbal, same thing. Want to see really fast what's going down below. Do I want that kind of shot? Yes, no. So kind of cool seeing it from below. And if I want to get back to my car, see right now it's really too slow for me moving this gimbal up in normal mode. So I'll throw it in the sport mode and get it where I want and just kind of cruise over here. Actually, it looks kind of nice down there. So I'm going to go and fly this scene for a second. And this is essentially just a little walkthrough of the app and my settings to get cinematic footage and get the most out of your Mini 2. So again, look how slow it is over there. Maybe I want to go over here. That's a cool shot with what's going on and with the ice. I'm going to get it maybe a little bit more exposure. So 1/500th of a second. And I'm bracketing. And maybe I want to bracket again with 1/400th, letting it a little bit more light. See, I like that a lot. So that's a cool little scene, and the ice kind of helps it right now. So that ice makes it interesting, and that's cool. So cool little shot. Maybe I want to go down that tree over there. I crashed my Mavic 2 Pro one time. Yeah, and the lower doesn't really go well. So I'm going to go in the sport mode, get really high.
You know, a lot of people will enjoy shots that are higher and definitely a drone shot because they're not familiar with it. So they enjoy seeing a different perspective that's not just a little bit higher. But again, I've done tutorials on getting creative with your drone flying, and you don't necessarily need to be really high to get a cool shot. You can fly your drone low and get cool little gimbal movements, like these kids are ice skating on this pond over here. And we're going to cruise back and get out of harm's way. But we also have now, in this new update, we have a new thing. We have this advanced EXP settings. I'm not even going to get into this area right now because I haven't even adjusted or played with it. But know we have different settings for normal and sport mode, and we can adjust this accordingly. Right now I'm keeping them set to where they're at, but just be aware that this is new in the latest update, and there are more settings available to you to dial in that much more. So the Fly app's coming together. I actually dig this app. A lot of people give it crap, but I think it's a cool app because of its simplicity. And it has a nice base, and I'm hoping Autel's Sky app is similar, honestly. Mind you, again, I have my pitch set to 5 and 10, yaw 17, 12. My cine is 3 and 17 and 5 and 8, and then this is my sport mode setting. So if you guys want to try this for a starting point, go ahead and feel free. But the Mini 2, an awesome little drone. I'm excited to get the Nano Plus, of course, but definitely not ever hating on the Mini 2. It's a powerful drone, and if you are contemplating getting a drone for the first time, I would say Mini 2 is a good starting point because it's only $500-600 as opposed to the Nano, which is more along $1,000 range for the premium bundle. I don't even know. I think the Nano Plus regular one is like 800 or something, 790 something. I don't know. But regardless, if this helps you guys out at all, subscribe, hit the thumbs up button, and aloha, guys. Bye.